Ronnie Coleman used to say, everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but nobody wants to lift no heavy ass weight. Today, as I was thinking about doing these pin squats again, I thought about that quote and I kind of changed it in my mind to my own liking. I kind of said to myself, everybody wants to be strong, but nobody wants to lift no heavy ass weight. Now, the heavy ass weight that I'm talking about is these pin squats. Now, the story of the last 2 weeks has pretty much been the pin squats, in my opinion. Also, the recovery. We've talked about this in the past, but I keep thinking about the recovery and what a method it is. If you just leave the physics, the physical side out of it, what it is, what a tool, what a method it is to make your body believe that it's capable of doing something. Now, it could all just purely be psychological, mental, that you kind of feel how much weight you have on your back, and then when you go to normal weights, the thing just feels like a joke. But as I was working out through these sets today, I worked up to 350 kilos today, and the pins were extremely high. Last time I had pins like this, I did 340, now I did 350. But during the last set of the 350, I kind of like got a cramp / pulled, very, very mild kind of discomfort to my left lat. And so I felt it kind of as I was putting the weight down, and I started thinking about how that occurs. How does a lat get pulled during a vertical torso and you just push up and you hold a super, super heavy weight on your back? And it got me thinking, everyone wants to be strong, but no one wants to lift no heavy ass weight. This heavy ass weight that I'm talking about, you cannot replace anything. You can't replace it. You can't replace it. The sensation of having a super, super maximal load on your back, every fiber of every muscle in your body has to contract maximally. When I first started pushing into that 350, it didn't budge. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually I broke inertia and I stood up with it. Everything was fully tense. And what is strength? What is maximal lifting? What do they say when you're getting ready for a deadlift? What do they say when you're catching your breath at the top of a squat? What are they saying? Make tension, get tight. What better way to practice that very thing than putting a super maximal load on your back and basically creating tension? Whether you like it or not, if you want to lift this damn thing off the pins, you're going to have to create tension. You can't be like half-assed going into 350 kilo barbell. You won't budget if you go half-assed into it. So it's kind of a way of teaching your body how to brace. So even though I'm convinced that this is a psychological, this is a mental thing, these pin squats, they just give you the confidence to lift heavy ass weight. But the other thing that I'm fully convinced now of it is that it just creates tension. You learn how to, completely contract every fiber in your body, to lift some heavy ass weight. Now, obviously, I'll go another centimeter down, maybe like 10 centimeters down, and I have half that weight on the bar by like half. I just cannot support that much weight in any sort of, vertical hip flexion or anything like this, but I'm just not strong enough. But in that kind of really small range of motion, I can. And it suits me because I can stand up with this stupid weight, and every fiber, like I pulled the lat today doing this, right? And it's not a big pull. I can just feel it's kind of like almost like an intercostal muscle kind of in the back. That's the other thing, man. Like, there's so many muscles in the body. There's so many fibers in the body. There's no freaking way you can isolate every single fiber in the body. You can grab a cable row, you can get a dumbbell and start rowing until the cows come home. You will never have 100% activation of every single fiber. I don't care which way you pull your elbow, this way, that way. It's impossible. But when you have a maximal load on your back, Pavel Tsatsouline needs to talk about this, the concept of irradiation. The idea that if you just squeeze your fist, that's some tension. But if you really clench down your fist as hard as you possibly can, like white knuckle, all of a sudden you feel your shoulders come in, your lats comes in, your glutes come in. You are like forcing the maximum amount of force through your hand. All of a sudden you feel like this irradiation happens, which is like the neighboring muscles kind of get recruited into this contraction of the fist. Like all you really want to do is the fist, but everything ends up being locking up because you are just sending so much central nervous system stimulation into the body, into this particular site, that site starts to bleed over to other sites, like adjacent sites. So this is kind of what I was doing today with these pin squats. it's like when I lifted 210 kilos yesterday, I didn't have tension like this throughout my body, man. Like there's no, like I didn't have, like there was parts of my body, and this is our evolutionary brain always trying to freaking work out an easy path out. There's some muscles in my body that didn't work as hard as possible. You know, for instance, my lats didn't contract like they're contracting doing this thing right now. This thing, lifting 350 off my, like, you know, standing up with it, literally I could not take a breath doing this. Because if I took a breath, I feel like all my discs would just pop out, shoot out of my spine. So I think there is immense value in that alone. And so Ronnie Coleman popped into my head. Everybody wants to be strong, but nobody wants to lift these super maximal weights. That's how I started today. Now, yesterday was a big day for me. Obviously, it goes down in the record books for me as one of the best days ever. Surprising as hell that day came out of, but ended up hitting 210, and the response from you guys has been absolutely breathtaking. There's so much support. I feel absolutely blessed that I have all you guys in the community. Literally every comment that came my way was positive. I've done my best today to answer everybody. It was really, really hard work to get to everyone. There's so many of you guys, but I loved it. I loved interacting with you guys. I loved hearing all the support. I literally feel like there's a whole community behind me, and it motivates the hell out of me to do even better. So today I came in and I was like, I read all the comments. I was like pumped, man. I thought maybe I can do 210 again. How amazing would that be? 210 in a row. Maybe I can string a whole week together. All these thoughts that are happening in my head. And then I started warming up and I felt my hamstrings were just absolutely jacked. And I've said this in the past. Like a lot of people say to me, the hamstrings are not involved in the squat. I beg to differ, man. When my hamstrings are jacked up, I can't squat. I can't squat. You'll see me today with the 180 kilo squat. I went down and my hamstring just went, well, we've had enough, mate. We can't extend anymore. We can't elongate anymore. And I literally started like falling over forward. I felt my form completely change. I almost had to kind of like good morning that thing up. So after I think 180, I think it was, I went into a hamstring stretch. I started stretching a whole bunch just to loosen up the hamstrings, because there's no way I can get into an ATG position without a butt wink when my hamstrings are so jacked. And the hamstrings are jacked because of the last few days I've been doing the seated leg curls, which have been feeling incredible. I still have DOMs in my hamstrings. Yeah, that's kind of the point. But I tried to kind of stretch that out, and then I went into the ollie shoes. Then I went to the bench press. Then I went back into the leg curls again. So lots of action today. But there was no way I could muster another effort like yesterday. I was just fatigued. I was tired. Kind of like yesterday, but today wasn't no surprise of performance. I was saying to the cameraman today, you know, Matt Perryman, John Bros always used to say that, you know, psyching yourself up for a lift or for a training session is a big no-no when you have high frequency of training, because your emotional centers, if you will, your psychological centers burn so much of your energy, so much more than your physical. In the sense that, you know, the way you feel, if you have a huge endorphin rush, you smash some ammonia pre-workout, you pile all that shit in, you do your workout, you're going to be gutted. If you do the same amount of work, if you do the same thing that you're supposed to do with all that pre-workout stuff, with all that stimulation, and you compare it to the same session without it, your recovery is just like half the time. So yesterday, obviously, you know, I hit 210. I didn't jump around in circles and, you know, skip some skipping rope. I didn't do any of that stuff. But just intrinsically, internally, I was really happy. I went home really happy. Told my wife about it as soon as I walked through the door. It was like a happy moment. And I wonder if all of that kind of made me more fatigued than usual. Now, when I look at these reps that I did today, they look all right to me in terms of like visually. But I felt like shit. Like I felt like I was working so damn hard. But looking at some of these weights, I'm like, man, maybe I could have even done 210, but who knows? This fella, you guys saw him a few videos ago. I met him in this gym. A subscriber, really cool fella. Also training a whole lot. He's training every single day. He's kind of doing body or power building, if you will. He's trying to incorporate both of them. So we're just exchanging some ideas there. Really cool to see him again. And then I put on my ollie shoes, like I said to you guys, and I went into some squats. Again, now with these things, I'm just pausing. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I'm just pausing because I feel like if I bounce out of the hole with these ollie shoes, I feel like I'm going to just face plant it. For for some reason I feel like really comfortable in the hole with these shoes. Obviously the heel helps, but even like the pause reps, I feel like I've got more power out of the bottom, out of the pause with these shoes on. So it's a really, really cool sensation. So I've just been pausing with them a whole bunch. The hamstrings just bothered me all day today, all day. So I've got a plan of hitting hamstrings every single time I train. Obviously, I can't do 5 sets of 10 or 5 sets of 20 or something crazy like this. So what I'm doing basically every day is doing like 2 or 3 sets where I kind of like, it's like a pyramiding up. So I start with a lightweight, go into a moderate weight, then I go into a kind of like a weight that I can kind of get 20, 25, and I usually do 20 reps. And that's how I'm planning to end every single training session. So the idea there is that I've identified the hamstrings as a key component to my squat. And so I'm trying to basically marry up the frequency of the squats and the hamstrings, 1-to-1 ratio. Obviously, I'm still squatting more reps because I'm doing, one run up with flat shoes, another run up with ollie shoes, and then I'm just doing 1 or 2 sets, really one working set with the leg curls. But I think there's some value in there. Like my body feels really good when my brain is aware of my hamstrings. One of you fellas also brought up an interesting thing, the idea that maybe I don't have weak hamstrings. And he basically said, don't discount your leg extensions altogether. Maybe the fact that you took 1 day off leg extensions, you gave yourself a bit of recovery and your quads were more involved in yesterday's 210 lift. Maybe that's a thing. It might as well be. It could also be the point. But right now I'm leaning towards that the hamstrings are needing more work. My body just feels better with hamstring activation. Whereas when I was doing leg extensions, my hamstrings just were getting more and more tighter. In the last 2 days, I've had DOMs in my hamstrings, but they're not feeling, I don't know, it's a weird sensation. I don't feel like I need to stretch them all the time, but they do feel short. It's a weird sensation I'm trying to describe to you guys. I haven't even mastered it in my own head, and I'm trying to kind of describe to you guys what I feel. Basically, when I've got a bit of a pump in my hamstring, I feel really good. Kind of like what John Meadows was talking about when he was saying to the hamstring curls before squats. That's kind of how I feel. Like I just feel really cool walking around with it. So this is the 180 pause with the ollie shoes. Just really comfortable in that bottom position. Really comfortable. Bit of a fight there, but as it's expected if there's no momentum coming out of the bottom. So lots of different ideas. Still working hard, man. Today's obviously still on annual leave. Tomorrow I'm on annual leave again. And then back to the damn grind. So it's going to be really interesting to see how I bounce out of this annual leave and into a working schedule. These two fellas, some more subscribers, really cool. I feel like I bump into somebody that knows me every single day now. Really, really cool to see, guys. I love responding to the comments. I love talking to you guys in the comments, but it's so much better when it's obviously in real life. Just makes me feel like the community is growing. It's just so much support. Like yesterday's video, man, so many people commented. I was like, man, why do I even matter this much? It's just so cool to see so many people happy for me. Man, life's unbelievable sometimes, man. Like when people share your joy, it's the joy is 100 times better than if you just lonely with your joy, if you will. And then today, decided to do some benching. I'm trying to bench twice a week. That's probably going to go down to 1 when I get back on the normal schedule. I'll see how I go. But with this, some of you guys have said that I look jacked. My arms look bigger than they should be. I don't really know why my arms look the way they do. I think a lot of you guys haven't seen me in something other than a t-shirt or a jumper. I don't think my arms have grown that much, to be honest with you. The only thing I do for my upper body is what you see there. That's basically been the same thing for the last long while. I haven't really done any bent over rowing or pull-ups or anything like this in recent times. All I do is the Bilbo method, or I try to kind of replicate as best as I can. So what I do is I work up to a training max, if you will, like a comfortable thing, like you saw that me pausing 100, and then I strip the bar back to a weight where I can kind of do 30 to 60 repetitions. That's kind of what Bilbo says, around that kind of range. So the other day I did 60 kilos for 30 reps. Today I decided to do 50 kilos for 40 reps. That's called the Bilbo set. So once you've done the Bilbo set, then you kind of go into your normal bench pressing routine, something like a 3x10 or a 3x12, or I don't know, 5 lots of 8 or something like this, something along those lines. Today I decided to do 3 sets of 10 and I failed to do that. I ended up doing 10 and then 2 8s, just so fatigued from the high reps. But Bilbo believes that the high reps do something to the tissue. He's a fella from Spain. If you guys haven't heard me talk about this, he's a fella, I think he's like 90 kilos or 85 kilos or something like this, and his bench press is naturally, not enhanced lifter, 220 kilos. So that to me is very, very impressive. Those figures are crazy to me. So if you want to learn more about it, just look up Bilbo method, if you will. I think it's called Bilbo program, Bilbo method, and you can find out more about it. I think the frequency is once a week, if I'm not mistaken. I'm basically doing it once or twice a week. I just basically go in, get a pump on, and then after the pump, essentially you start doing some of these, your normal bodybuilding parameters of like, 10 to 12 reps or 8 to 12 reps or something like this. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know what it is with the arms. Maybe they're a little bit bigger in recent times because of the Bilbo method. Also, I said to one of the other guys, actually one of the other guys said to me, one of you guys said to me that maybe the anabolic nature of doing frequent compound lifting is doing something to, I guess, my hormonal profile, and I'm able to retain more muscle mass because of the, we all have heard this, if you do squats and deadlifts, you're going to have higher testosterone counts naturally. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really looked into any of this that much, but that's kind of one explanation it could be. And the only other thing with biceps, I never train biceps. I can tell you that. I never do that. The only thing I can think of is picking up 20 kilo plates, putting it up on the bar every single day, multiple times. Maybe it's that. I never feel a pump in my biceps, so I don't know. But yeah, you guys know me, what I'm about. I'm about the 300 kilo squat. Secondary goal is the deadlift. And then the tertiary goal, if you will, is the bench press. But that's kind of fallen off the bandwagon, if you will, in the recent times because of the struggles with the squat and the hip pain. But yeah, I don't know. I used to train a lot, my biceps and triceps back in the day when I cared more about benching and pull-upping and all that sort of stuff. But maybe it's that muscle memory that people talk about. It's kind of easier for me to retain muscle mass than it is for somebody to build it from scratch. But I'm not sure. Anyway, guys, tomorrow's going to be a last day of my annual leave, so I'm going to try and make it a good one. And then the following day is going to be a 4:30 get up, 5 o'clock session. Is going to be interesting, cold morning. By the way, guys, recently I was on a podcast that's now on Spotify. I'll put the link down below. He's a trainer, a fella from Perth. Have a listen to this. It was a 2-hour long chat with him. Really cool fella. We got into some really interesting discussions. I'll put the link down below if you guys want to check it out. Until tomorrow, until the next workout, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.